Hey ladies, it is time for our ladies spring Jeep quick tip guide video. We are talking suspension again. So we already covered in our last video talking about the stock suspension underneath your stock Jeep. So today I wanted to pull the big girl out and I want to show you what the next step is as we're starting to talk about suspension. Now, even if this is not something that you're going to go to in your build, this is great information to know so that you understand when people are talking about different builds, different suspension, you're gonna understand what they're talking about. So today we're talking about the Coil Over. So we just finished talking about the suspension on the stock Jeep. So we talked about the shock, the coil, and the bump stop. So now today we're gonna jump around and I'm going to show you, we're gonna get underneath my YJ and we're gonna look at when we start talking about that aftermarket build and talking about coil over. So let me switch this around so we can get underneath her and take a look at the coil over. All right, as you can see, this is no longer a stock Jeep. So we are talking about upgrading in your build, but I want you to understand when somebody says coil over, what that means. So as you can see, we're getting up underneath her. This is a coil over. So instead of having a separate shock and a separate coil, you're gonna notice that the shock runs through the coil and the coil is running on the outside of the shock in a coil over setup. So one of the most common reasons that you are going to see somebody go to a coil over when you start talking about lifts is when you do your suspension lift on your stock Jeep, you're going to get a specific height, whether it be a 2.5 inch, a 3.5 inch. That is going to be the actual measurements that you're going to be getting with your suspension lift, and your coil is going to be set at the specific lift height. With a coil over, it is adjustable so that you are able to adjust the ride height to exactly where you want those specifications to be, so that you're not going to be limited based on the spring itself. What you're also going to notice in this coil over is there are two different springs. You have your top spring, and then you're gonna have your bottom spring. So you're able to set the rate that you want and how you want your Jeep to ride and the suspension to perform. Normally, this top spring is gonna be set a little bit softer, and then your bottom spring is gonna be set just a little bit firmer. What that does is that is going to allow for your top spring to have a softer ride and your bottom spring to never allow your suspension to bottom out as you hit hard bumps, rocks, whatever the terrain may be that you are riding on. So when somebody's talking about a coil over, this is what that setup looks like. So again, a couple of the big reasons you'll see these on Jeeps is the ability to adjust the ride height to exactly where you want it so that you're not doing an out of the box lift. Then you also are gonna have your two separate springs so that you can adjust to the exact ride and the exact suspension that you want, how you want your Jeep to perform, and especially based on if you're gonna start doing harder obstacles, harder terrain, you want to be able to adjust this so that it's going to perform where you're going to put it to the best of its abilities. Okay, now we have jumped to the back really quickly because you can get a better idea and see this coil over just a little bit better here in the back setup. So you can see where your shock is coming in through the top, how adjustable this is, and your springs that are running over the top of your shock. So now if somebody's talking about a coil over, you're gonna know what they're talking about. Thank you for jumping on here, joining me for our ladies spring Jeep quick tip guide video series. Look for some more videos coming from LadyJeepers.com. I'm Kristen DeLibra. I believe that knowledge builds confidence. So get out there and enjoy your Jeep, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, ladies.